My name is Van Myler, and I'm the Vice President of Client Strategy for Vision 40 Media.
My name is Jay Spencer, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Online Operations at Houston Baptist University. I've spent 2 to 3 decades in higher education, from enrollment management to academics in the Provost's office to teaching in the classroom and online. And we are committed to the success of our students and seeing them be able to achieve that which they've always wanted and be successful in doing so.
My name is Steve Peterson. I serve as the Vice President for Online and Digital Learning at Houston Baptist University. I consider myself a lifelong learner. I've been in higher education for more than 2 decades, and I'm committed to helping adults achieve their educational goals.
So when you're launching a new program like you did at Houston Baptist University Online, how do you decide what distance learning degrees to develop, and how do you decide which ones to market and promote? Does, for example, pushing an MBA program out there or a nursing program out there, or pushing out what's popular or what's best for the school, like what you're strong at, like what area your program you're strong at Houston Baptist University? How do you decide that?
Yeah, I think it starts with the mission of the school. When Jay and I went to Houston Baptist University, we obviously chose that school because of their mission, and I think there was a natural step of the programs that we'd offer online based on the core of who they were as an institution.
So when we first started, they already had like 6 programs online. So the next fall we had 21 programs. So we began to look at what programs does HBU have that are strength and good programs they do well that we can put online. What were the types of programs that we knew were attractive to the consumer, programs, and we're constantly doing that. We're constantly looking at, additional programs that students may need. For example, we just recently launched what we call an interdisciplinary degree, an undergrad interdisciplinary degree. Well, what is that? Well, as I mentioned earlier, that graduate degree is important for some fields. Well, if I'm an adult and I never finished my undergrad, and I've got 2 or 3 different schools that I've got transcripts from, but my end goal is I really need that graduate degree, I have to get that undergrad first. I have to get that as quickly as possible. Well, an interdisciplinary degree allows us to bring in credits that they've been earned from other institutions and apply to an undergraduate to get them into that graduate degree. So that's just knowing those types of things, and that what works. And we have to push back sometimes a little bit on the academic community that you always have faculty, regardless of where you're at, that have their pet courses, their pet programs that they think would be great to put online. Well, maybe not. It's not something that yeah. So
I think one of the things that's exciting where we're serving now in the city of Houston, it's known for 2 things. Probably first, oil and gas. So there's opportunity to create programs, for instance, the MBA that we have, to make sure that we are providing specializations related to that field. The number of jobs that are open right now in Houston for oil and gas is tremendous. So how are we equipping that workforce? Sure. The other, we have, like many schools, a BSN online or an MSN online. So you have the medical community there in Houston, and the need is great. Really not just for nurses, but also administrators and business people and IT folks. So we're sensitive to that community, the workforce, and what is needed there.
So Dr. Peterson, when you were running the Liberty University online program, you started with 30, 40 degrees, and then you built it to 250, and then a number of certificate programs. So how did you build that out? And were you finding, as you had more options for people, the school grew because of that? Because you had more degree programs?
Yeah, I think it's important what Jay just mentioned too. When we started, early on, when Liberty was recognized as one of the leading online providers, definitely in the nonprofit world, there was 40 to 45 programs online. And at that point, the university, just in the online program, went from 30,000 students to 40,000 students to 50,000 students. And somewhere around that mark, we realized that we were getting interest because Liberty's brand was more and more national and had some notoriety. But we weren't seeing in our admissions funnel or our recruiting funnel those students converting. So we employed some surveys and realized there was a gap between what people were requesting of us and what we were offering. And so we got together with the deans and the academic community there at the institution and laid out, I think we started out with, we need 55 programs. And we all agreed, well, that list's too big. And then we whittled it down to 6, and we thought, well, that's too small. And so somewhere around that, in that next year to 18 months, launched more than 20 new degrees and figured out a way to do it without a major overhaul of all the programs. And then Jay was instrumental in launching certificates. And so, at that point, I think it was 60 certificates that were offered online. And people, once they started with the certificate, realized that they liked going to school and they could roll that forward into a full degree. And, it was somewhere around a third of those students, 32% of those would persist to, moving into a degree program. So that's when the university really moved to 60,000, 80,000, and nearly 100,000 students by now going in with 200 plus programs of study.
So the certificate program became a feeder for the degrees. So how did you decide what certificates that you were going to offer?
Well, it was almost, at that point, I think working backwards. So what do we have in our MBA that somebody might like in a 9-hour format? Leadership. So I've been promoted in my job. I don't necessarily have the time or money to go back and do a full MBA or a master's in leadership, but I would love to do a certificate, of 9 hours and pairing together the right courses. Finance would be one. One we did out of the School of Divinity related to biblical studies or theology, and just paring it down to a lighter load.
So those are popular.
Yes, exactly.
And most of those certificates were at the grad level, the graduate degree level certificates. And again, that goes back to they have an undergraduate degree, but they may be employed in a different field than what they earned their undergraduate degree in. So they find themselves now, I'm being promoted or I want to get this promotion and I don't want to wait to get a full graduate degree, but if I can do these 3 to 4 courses and earn a graduate certificate, now I'm more attractive, to my current employer or a future employer. And then, like Steve said, 30-some% of them went on and earned that degree.